Hey, estate planners, Heath Ross here, back with another video. In today's video, I'm going to talk about, is estate planning marketing magic? I get this question a lot. It comes up a lot. Hey, then you go do your magic. And then when does the magic start happening? When do I start seeing the magic? I'm going to talk about baseball a little bit in today's video. Actually, I rewatched an old classic called Moneyball last night. And I relate this a lot to just the magic that happens with marketing for your estate planning law firm. So, if you don't know, if you've never seen Moneyball or you've never heard of it, it's a story about how the Oakland Athletics, by analyzing player statistics, were able to assemble a team that was able to compete with the highest paid athletes and highest paid teams in the league on a very low budget. So I think the Oakland A's budget, this was like back in the 90s, was like 37 million for their entire team, their entire outfit. And teams like the Boston Red Sox and New York Yankees were, like in the middle hundreds, like 125, 150 million that they could pay their players. So it was really difficult for smaller teams, and it still is today, to be able to compete with teams that can pay a lot of money and have so much talent, that are all very high paid. So it makes it a lot more difficult for these smaller teams to compete. And this entire movie, this entire story, is about how the general manager of the Oakland Athletics was able to, but through analyzing statistics, deciding on what was the most important thing to get wins for their team. They had just lost. They just had a great season. They went deep in the playoffs, and then they lost three of their all-star players. So they needed to rebuild. It was a rebuilding year, and by analyzing the statistics of these players, they were able to have the exact same number of wins and make the postseason with this new team on a very, very slim budget, which was just absolutely remarkable for them to be able to do that. So anyways, what did they do to get there? So first thing they did was decide, all right, what statistics are most important for us to get wins in the win column? And they decided offensively that most important thing was to get players that have a high on-base percentage. So if they have a high on-base percentage, then we can get runs, and runs turn into wins. So they looked at player statistics across the league of players that have high on-base percentages that are undervalued by the team that they're currently playing for. And through doing that, they're able to find, okay, this guy has maybe a low batting average, and maybe that's why he's not getting much playing time for whoever, whatever team he's on, but he's got a high on base percentage, which means that he's smart in the batter's box and he's able to get on base, and, we can work with that, was their mindset. And, they can get him at a much lower cost than what anybody else could get them. So by initiating that sort of strategy and trying to assemble this team that would be able to get wins with seemingly a bunch of nobodies. People didn't really know any of these players, but they assembled it, and the people and the players were all just really, really happy to have the opportunity to actually play, that somebody actually wanted them. And it was through assembling this team they were able to create a winning season. And some of their players didn't even so for instance, they had one player that was a catcher, and they didn't have anybody to play first base, so they moved him over there. So that was a component of their team that they actually had to coach up and train, so that the whole of their team would be better in the long run. And I relate all of this, back to marketing your law firm as an estate planning attorney. You're going to have components within your lineup that aren't as strong as others, and you just need to work on those components. You need to have the right team set up first. You need to have a GM that says, all right, what does this look like as a total, as a whole? What is the your online presence and your marketing look like as a whole? and then work backwards from there. Like, all right, what pieces are missing, or what pieces do we need to strengthen, and then go about strengthening that lineup. Trading out the weaker players, getting stronger players in, and using your budget most efficiently and effectively. Almost made up a word there, efficiently. Maybe you need to move that catcher over to first base and train them how to be a first baseman, because they are strong in batting. And watching the statistics and analytics of all of their at-bats is a big part of how they made adjustments for these players throughout that season. So for instance, they noticed one of the players, after if they had a first pitch strike, their batting average went down 150 points. So sharing that knowledge with the player, so they knew, like, oh wow, okay, so maybe I shouldn't always swing at that first pitch. Maybe I should sit back, take a few pitches. Being able to look at the analytics and explain it and share it back to those players is what helped make that team stronger, and got them wins, and helped them to manufacture runs. Most importantly, getting players on base and moving them over was huge. I mean, obviously, you need to score to win, but they figured out how to piece together this team using their budget most efficiently, so that they could get runners moved over and manufacture them and get them across home plate. That's the same exact process that happens with running your digital marketing for your estate planning law firm. You got to get people on base. You got to get the right prospects hitting your website, and you got to be able to move them from one base to another. You got to get them to visit other pages that are on your website. You got to answer their questions. You got to build that relationship with them so they know, like, and trust you, until eventually, they pick up the phone and, they're wanting to talk to you, and they're wanting to schedule an appointment and get on your calendar. So, it's a whole process to be able to manufacture a lead into an appointment, into a sale. When you're running your digital marketing campaign, and there's so many different components that have to come in so that you can do that. That's kind of the how I work with people. I like this analogy because it's how I approach working with estate planners. Kind of like the GM, to say, all right, here's where your weak spots are. Here's where we need to improve it, and here's how we're going to manufacture these runs for you so that you can get wins. That's an approach that you can take as you're doing your law firm. And analyzing, how's your law firm doing? Marketing for an estate planning attorney, yes, it is kind of magic. I mean, you kind of got to manufacture these runs, and you got to be able to see the field like a GM. So I hope that answers that question. I hope this video was really helpful for you. If it was, please make sure that you like it and you subscribe. It really helps exposure with the channel. If you'd like to connect with me, I'll leave a link in the description. And I will see you next time.